Он бы в случае не поехал. Ну зачем? Ехать убивать или самим пойти и вернуться домой? Я говорю, что делать? Говорит, давай поехали. Куда ехать? Назад ходу нет уже, знаешь. Дорога в никуда, ну как шаг. Неизвестно сделали, да и все. Ходить начали по домам, вот к военкому кто не приходил, всех в военкомат, которые с повестками уже не могли уже выехать. В дверь постучали, просто подошел, смотрю, стоят. Кто не берет повестки, их просто ментовку арестуют, и все. Вот что тогда дверь не открыть, правильно, избежать. В школе в одной учились, 3 дня подготовка у меня была. Картошки быстро наварили, яйца наварили. Все было у нас в Америку. Курсом на остров. Страшно было, если поймают, а так-то чего бояться.
Первое, что я подумал, их нужно накормить, согреть и дать высохнуть. Я принес пиццу, а люди принесли пончики и кучу других вещей.
Мне 3000 назначили, Сереге 10 000.
Мы помогаем, у нас много русских людей. Почему? Потому что любой человек, который бегит и просит помощи, то мы всегда подписываемся.
Вот пацаны у нас здесь жили с Бучи. Они мне улицы рассказывали про российскую армию. Это моя комната, здесь вы говорите о России. Укрнацисты. Вот с укрнацистом живу и без не знаю, нормально.
Ну, я сделал Померанговки, плохой вернулся. Хорошее сделал Померангов, хорошее вернулся. Но также она в жизни, она так всегда.
So that's a really cool video, and it's not a one-off situation. This is not an isolated event. People are coming to the US by the thousands from China, from India, from Russia. Per the US Customs and Border Protection, as reported by The Economist, in 2023, 43,000 Russians, 42,000 Indians, and 24,000 Chinese people immigrated to the US. In 2021, just 2 years earlier, those numbers were 4,100 Russians, 2,600 Indians, and 450 Chinese. And the reason the Chinese are so low is because they weren't allowed to travel during that time due to zero COVID. But now we are seeing between a 10x and 50x increase in these people fleeing their country and coming to the US. And before I talk more about this, no, I don't think these people are soldiers or spies coming from China and Russia. And while it's perfectly fine to be wary of potential agents working for China or Russia's security services getting into the US, but the vast, and I mean vast majority of these people are not that. We have to use Occam's razor here. The simplest explanation is that they are seeking more safety, security, and prosperity in the US. And you just have to look at the countries they're coming from, specifically China and Russia. The Chinese people just came off some of the most oppressive zero COVID policies in the world. They were beaten into their homes and locked behind their own doors. They were forced to do things with their bodies that would be absolutely illegal in the US. So of course they would want to flee that country and come to America. And Russia is self-explanatory. That country is an absolute hot mess from top to bottom, whether it's the tanking economy, the increasingly authoritarian crackdowns from the Kremlin, or just not wanting to go fight an illegal war in Ukraine. It makes sense that these people would want to come to America. And when it comes to spies, it makes no sense for these spies to give themselves up at the border to be thoroughly vetted and checked when these spies generally have better ways to get through, including just flying here on private or diplomatic aircraft, which is how they previously used to come here. And the reason is there's far less scrutiny and security on private and diplomatic aircraft than there is airlines. And then these people just disappear into the US. No government, whether it's Chinese or Russian, is going to risk a trained spy getting scrutinized by multiple agencies after they have given themselves at the border as a refugee. There are just better ways to do it. Furthermore, 70% of the Chinese asylum seekers are approved, meaning they get fully vetted by multiple agencies and are legitimately determined to be asylum seekers. And the fact of the matter is, when it comes to China, a disproportionate number of immigrants coming to the US are coming from Hong Kong, trying to escape the ever-tightening grasp of the Chinese Communist Party. Additionally, the Uyghurs, They're trying to leave China because their persecution is quite atrocious as well. So I doubt they're plotting to undermine the US, and they just want to be free and prosperous. There are currently 300,000 visa applications from across the globe for people wanting to come to the United States. No country anywhere is even remotely close to that. China has visa-free travel to Ecuador, and that is how they are getting here illegally. They're flying to Ecuador and then trying to cross the border. However, 20,000 of the 80,000 Indian and Chinese people came through the Canadian border. They came from Canada through the US northern border. And there's also a large Turkish population that has crossed the southern border as well, seeking a better life for themselves. A large reason the Chinese and the Russians are funding a huge push for anti-immigration in the US is because they are losing highly capable people to the United States. Engineers, scientists, artists. This is a US cheat code and has always been so. Do you remember Einstein? People who were absolutely brilliant immigrated here because they needed to get away from oppressive states. And this continues to this day. Our organic American population has a birth rate that is roughly the same as Europe's, meaning if it weren't for immigration, we would also be stagnating or even declining. But the people that come to the US are often young and industrious. Immigration is going to carry the US to new levels of greatness, and it's going to keep us ahead of everyone else. Yes, our border situation needs to be addressed, and it is completely broken. The process needs more money, needs more people, it needs to be streamlined, it needs more security, and it needs to be more intelligent. But the fact of the matter is, it is a good thing to take the young, best, and brightest from other countries because we offer a much better system than they are coming from. They want to work, and you know what? Some of them come and fight for us. I personally knew first or second generation Romanian, Azerbaijani, Ukrainian, Mexican, Jamaican, El Salvadoran, Filipino, and yes, even Russians whose parents fled the Soviet Union when he was just a baby and he was in the US military. All of them fighting in our military, whether as an officer or enlisted, after swearing an oath to our Constitution, and I can vouch for all of them. But more than anything, these people, and they are people, they just want to be a blank American. And when you can fill in the blank with whatever you want. A Mexican American, a Chinese American, El Salvadoran American, or even a Russian American. Mark my words, this will keep America great.